We love getting your questions, so we want you to keep them coming via Facebook, Twitter, and on our webpage. Who knows, we might just answer your question here in the studio audience next. Today on an all-new Daily Helpline. Please give it up for our guest today, Jewel.
When I moved out at 15, I went, how am I gonna not be a statistic?
Honestly, I'm concerned that at any moment that you may have a panic attack.
I feel like the weight of the world's on my shoulders.
I would feel panic attacks come on, and at first I didn't know what they were. It felt like I was dying.
And how long has food been filling the void?
All my life.
Were you raising your children to ever let them go?
Love you, Mom.
Love you too.
Hello and welcome to the Daily Helpline. I'm Miles Edcox.
And I'm Spirit. She's a singer, a songwriter, author, and a poet. Please give it up for our guest today, Jewel.
I need the help. Hi, how are you?
Thanks a big step. Thanks so much. Lucy, it is so great to have you here.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness. So you have had some amazing stories to tell, and we've all been blessed to hear it through your music, through your works. And I hear, a little birdie told me that you have a book in the works. Is that true?
I am working on a book. People often ask me, what are you most proud of in your career? And I actually say my happiness. It isn't anything career related. My career has actually just been a complete byproduct of me learning how to be what I call a whole human. I moved out when I was 15, and I knew statistically girls like me end up in a ditch somewhere, addicted to drugs with an abusive husband. And I wanted to beat those odds, and I thought if I'm going to do it, I need to be very serious about learning a new emotional language than the one I was raised with. And so that's what I set about doing, and writing was my therapy. It really taught me about myself. It let me keep track of myself. And it ended up being that other people were interested in what I was saying, which was very bizarre to me. It's not what I intended to do. And I've been so blessed to have music in my life and make this a career. I'm so thankful. Yeah. But as I started talking with people and they were asking me about how I overcame what I came, you know, I do think that there's some simple things that everybody can relate to that can really help. Because I believe inside of everybody we have the medicine that we need to heal ourselves. So that's what my book's about.
Well, that's one of the things I'm excited about having you on as well, because I know that about you. You're somebody who's taken your platform and is doing really cool and good things with it that are helping a lot of people and the planet. Tell us about the process that got you from here to there and your passion and how all these roads are combining.
For me, really, it was when I moved out at 15. I went, how am I going to not be a statistic? How do I do something when I'm what they call an at-risk youth, which I didn't know that term at the time, obviously. And then having ended up homeless when I was 18, and I just used any method at my disposal. I didn't have money and I didn't have very many resources. But I had reading and I had writing, and those are the two things I used. And amazingly, they've all been able to come together, and I've been able to really not only find a fulfilling life, you know, that's my biggest success for me, is just that I've been able to beat the odds and have a great career. I couldn't believe it. It's really worked out much better than I thought.
Well, that's a good thing. And we are so glad to have you here today, because we want to help some guests beat the odds too, and I think you'll be able to help us quite a bit. So with that being said, let's get started with our first guest. Misti is a mom who's going through a bad case of empty nest syndrome. And quite honestly, I've got a 17-year-old who's headed out after this year, so I hope mine doesn't get as bad, but I can definitely relate. Take a look at this.
When I'm eating, I forget about being sad, lonely, and my kids not being here. This past year, I've put on about 70 pounds. I am 5'4", and I weigh 200 pounds. Prior to this, I looked solid. Coke bottle shape, the whole nine. But now I'm just like a square. My son Gianni is 19. He's away to college. And it makes me depressed, and it makes me also want to binge and just go crazy with the junk food. My daughter, Ginesha, she's 18 now, and she will be leaving for college. So now everyone's leaving me, and food is really my friend right now. When I'm alone thinking about my kids, no one walking through the door, the first thing I think about is what kind of ooey gooey concoction I can make. I will actually grab a container of icing and eat it straight from the container. I probably go through one of these containers in a day. My new go-to comfort food now is sorbet. Doesn't that look yummy? I could put through 2 pints of those. Boom. I love it. It doesn't matter if I'm full or not. I just eat until it's gone. And when I look up, the container's empty and I'm looking for more. As soon as I'm done with that last spoonful, I look around and I realize that I'm back at square one. I'm alone, sad, and no one's home.
Welcome, Misty.
Thank you.
I would imagine with what you've been through, homelessness, single mother, and then you pulled yourself up and you started a career and you've been driving a truck and you provided for your kids, and now here you are. Felt like it was lonely before and it feels like it's lonely now.
Yes, very, very much. It's like a void, a big empty space.
Tell us about the empty space.
Well, my 19-year-old left about 2 years ago, and there was a little hole, and it was kind of tough to fill it coming home and only one child there. And now my daughter, she just turned 18 and she just graduated, so she's on her way out. So just thinking about being by myself, being all alone, coming home to an empty house. Not really having a life because I've been on the road, and I love my kids and I live for my kids, so that's all I knew and that's all I know. So I don't have anybody else, you know, so it's just me in the house and food, that's it.
And how much of your life has felt like that?
Most of it.
Starting when?
From the homelessness, being homeless.
Take us back there.
I wanted to stand on my own, and, you know, I went from picking up cans, you know, going, whatever kind of hustle I could do legally and to provide for my family. And I saved up enough money and got us an apartment and got a job and became a bar manager. And then from there, when the club closed, I taught myself how to drive a big rig, and that's how I've been providing for my family ever since. So I never want to go back there, but just doing my best to
just
make
hanging on.
Yeah.
And how long has food been filling the void?
All my life, basically. I've always used food as a crutch. It's comforting. It's relaxing. It can be fun. It can be happiness, you know, excitement, all of that rolled into one. That's how I feel sometimes when I'm eating.
I can relate to two things that you're saying. One is eating. When I went away to school when I was 16, I moved out when I was 15, I started binge eating, and it really comforted me. And it's amazing how it healed my anxiety, it seemed like. It was like, it would just focus on that.
Right.
As I said, this little hole I'd fall into, and I would just focus on eating, and it was never about being hungry. It was always about calming my anxiety down and trying to fill it. And then I'd be so full. I related so much to eating that frosting, by the way. That was me. I could go through things of frosting, frozen cake. In the freezer, I'd be chipping it off with a butter knife, just trying to eat it frozen. The other thing I relate to is going from crisis to crisis and surviving. And when suddenly I don't have to survive and focus on fixing and holding everything together, I felt like I was just lost and I had no point.
Exactly.
Feels like
I have nothing now, you know. That's how I feel. I feel hopeless. I feel less than. I feel unimportant, ugly at times, you know, unloved, all of that.
You know, and it's really interesting to hear you talk about this because as a mom, I can relate. And the interesting thing that I think about is I hear everything that you've overcome. The homelessness, the get in the apartment, the girl, you a truck driver. I mean, these are not easy things to do. You have raised 2 children who are headed to college. This is commendable. This is commendable. So the part that I wonder for you is, I wonder how come there's the disconnect between what you've overcome and the celebration.
I don't know what to do with myself. Like I said, I drive over all 48 states, so that was my life. My children and truck driving. That's it, that's all. So for me to try to celebrate, it's like, celebrate what? What am I gonna do now? I don't have any friends really. I don't have a boyfriend or a man or a husband or anything, so.
What do you think's keeping you from that? From friends and a boyfriend?
Not knowing how to interact, being in that truck for hours and days on, weeks on end.
Okay.
You know, just
So is
me
it
in the road.
I heard two parts there. I heard not knowing how to interact, and then I heard busy.
Yeah,
Which one would you say leads?
not knowing how to interact.
Yeah.
Not being able, like I said, I feel like I have low self-esteem, so I don't feel like I can fit in anywhere. I'm a truck driver, you know. Who wants to? I don't know.
Well, you came to the right place, I'll tell you
Yeah,
that,
okay.
okay? So we got you, we got you, we got you. You came to the right place. So let's take a moment, okay? Let's take a moment. Coming up, both of Misty's children are here. We're going to meet them next when we come back. So you came to the right place. Coming up.
Johnny, what are you worried about? What scares you the most?
What scares me most is that I might lose you, Mom.
Not gonna lose me.
We love getting your questions, so we want you to keep them coming via Facebook, Twitter, and on our webpage. Who knows, we might just answer your question here in the studio audience next.